a double pivot of Makelele and Kante. And with that, again, opposition team would forfeit and we win the World Cup without playing. I will tell you that England will reach the final of the World Cup under Thomas Tuchel because he picked the right squad, because he knows what he's doing compared to, unlike what everything in England is saying right now.
Welcome, everybody, to Make Football Great Again, your definitive 48-nation roadmap to the 2026 World Cup. My name's Harry Brent, and over the coming weeks, we're profiling every single nation heading to the tournament this summer to find out more, not just about the teams, but about the countries, cultures, and fans involved as well. Today, we're covering France, two-time winners of the World Cup, of course, and I'm thrilled to say that we're joined by none other than ESPN writer and French football expert Julien Laurens, whose new book, Kylian Mbappe, the definitive biography of the World Cup star, is out now. We'll pop a link to that in the description so you guys can check it out and pick up a copy if you'd like one. Julien, thanks so much for being here. Welcome to the show. Comment ça va?
Hello, my friend. Very good. I'm very good. Thank you so much. Very excited to be on and very excited for the World Cup that is very, very close now.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, in a second, we'll find out all about France and what we can expect from them, generally speaking, at the tournament. But before we get officially cracking, Julien, I just want to kick off with a segment I like to call One Truth and One Lie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present two seemingly crazy facts about the France national team to you. One of those facts is 100% true. The other one is completely fake. So I'll read them back to back, and then you let me know which you think is the true fact.
Okay.
So fact number one. A France supporter caused a minor diplomatic incident at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa by attempting to smuggle a rooster into the stands inside a giant hollowed-out baguette. Fact number two. In 1984, after winning the Euros, the French squad was invited to the Louvre for a private dinner. The legendary Michel Platini got so carried away with the celebrations that he left his winner's medal around the neck of the famous Venus de Milo statue. So, Julien, what do you reckon? Did a France fan try to smuggle a rooster into the World Cup inside a giant hollowed-out baguette, or did Michel Platini get so wasted at the Louvre that he left his winner's medal on the Venus de Milo?
I would go for the first one being true and the second one being a lie.
That is absolutely bang on. Yes. So you may know this man better than me, but French super fan, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Clément d'Antibes.
Yeah, Clément d'Antibes. Yeah.
Yeah. So this
really well.
So he and his rooster his name is Balthazar, who he took to the football.
Yeah.
Balthazar,
he made it a few World Cup, to be fair.
Yeah, what a great story that is, trying to get him in. But yeah, South Africa had a no livestock rule, so couldn't get Balthazar in, but he tried to sneak him in, and got caught with it. So
I think Balthazar has done before that World Cup there, or because I think they might have gone to Brazil the one after too, but not in Russia, I think. But yeah, he's done a few World Cups, and so did Clément. I think Clément has had something like 1,500 national team games that he followed as a fan. He was always there. It was pretty remarkable, and even the players. Now he doesn't travel anymore, but the players even knew who he was. It was an amazing story.
That's brilliant. Yeah, well, about the lucky rooster going to World Cup games like that. That's a hell of a thing. So France, two-time winners of the World Cup, as we've mentioned, once in 1998 where they hosted the tournament, and again in Russia 2018. They were a Randall Kolo Muani volley away from winning it for a third time at Qatar 2022, but ended up losing to Lionel Messi's Argentina on penalties in what surely, Julien, has to go down as one of the greatest World Cup finals ever, and possibly even one of the greatest matches ever. France, of course, knocked England out of that World Cup in the quarter-final stage with Harry Kane missing a late penalty to equalise. Kylian Mbappe, a man Julien knows better than most, is just 4 goals away from matching Miroslav Klose's all-time World Cup goal-scoring record of 16 goals. An incredible feat, considering he's only 27 and has only taken part in 2 tournaments. It really is remarkable. This summer, France are in Group I alongside Senegal, Norway, and Iraq. And although they'll be aiming to top that group, if they finish runners-up, they could end up facing England again at the quarterfinals, assuming England win their group. But before we talk properly, Julien, about the 2026 World Cup, I just want to kick off with the segment we call the travel log. So before we talk players and tactics, I just want to get a little bit more of a sense of the culture and the history behind the France national team. So to kick us off, I'm going to put you on the spot straight away. Who is France's footballing GOAT?
Wow. I mean, for me and for now, because I think Kylian eventually will be in that conversation, but for now he's still a bit too young and he's still halfway through his career. So I would go for one of three, and I'll tell you which one after, but really, I think Raymond Kopa for that great 50s generation, that did really well in the 1958 World Cup. Michel Platini, obviously, that we mentioned already, and he didn't go wasted that day or, lost his medal, but he's still Michel Platini. And the third one has to be Zinedine Zidane, maybe more than Thierry or Thierry Henry. It's not too far from that conversation. But I think Zidane for the goals in the final, for Euro 2000, for coming back even for 06 and getting the team to the final there. So really between the three, I think we can rule out Kopa, not because he wasn't good. He was a really good player, but it's in the 50s and it's not really the same, I think. So it's between Platini and Zidane. Personally, maybe because it's more my generation, really, and I grew up watching that 98, 2000 kind of squads, I would go for Zidane. I think Zidane, even if he probably could have done more in terms of goals and assists and those kind of stats, if you want, that we are quite keen on right now, I think he was an incredible genius of the game, technically, in his elegance and the way he moved his body, his first touches, some of the goals and the iconic moments that he provided us. So for me, of all of them, I would rank, I think, Zidane as the number one.
Do you think with the trajectory of his career, when Kylian Mbappe finishes his career, do you think he has the potential to be above Zidane in France's estimations?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I think there's already one World Cup and one final, as we mentioned. Zidane has had one World Cup, one final. He obviously did the Euros in between, and I think Kylian will play more Euros, probably 2, maybe even 3 more. There will certainly be another World Cup and maybe 2 as well after this one. So I think he has the time to do even better with the national team than Zidane did, and he needs more club level, certainly in terms of Champions League and Ballon d'Or, without a doubt. But I think the goals that he will score will reach levels and break records that will probably never be broken again, certainly for us in France. And I just think he's got everything right now at 27 to become the GOAT in terms of French players. So I hope for him he gets there. And I think Zidane is a great GOAT to follow, if you want, and almost overtake. Same with Platini or Henry or Kopa or, I don't know, whoever you want else in the history of our game.
If France get knocked out this summer, which team would fans hate to see go on and lift the trophy?
Ooh. So there's those kind of local rivalries between countries who are obviously on borders with us, like Switzerland, as we saw in Euro 2021, or Belgium. We've got a bit of a history now of games with Belgium. So I don't think Switzerland can win it. No offense. Belgium maybe a little bit more, and I think if you're French, you probably don't want the Belgians to win it because of that kind of rivalry and the cousin type of relationship. England, we always beat you anyway, so I'm not sure like you count for us. Germany, maybe. I think Spain, because it's Spain, and again, there's a bit of a local rivalry, another country. But I think of all the countries, really, because of what happened in Qatar in 2022 and Emi Martinez and Messi and everything like that, I think probably Argentina is the one country where I think the French average fan would think, oh no, not them again.
Thierry Henry was obviously a massive success for France. There's no doubt about that. But obviously, his best club football was played in England for Arsenal. You kind of omitted him from that talk of who France's greatest of all time could be. Is that at all because in France he's kind of looked at as an English legend rather than a French legend, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean. No, I don't think so, because Arsenal feels very much to us in France like another French club anyway, because of all the French influence that they had in the Wenger year. So there will be a lot of people in France who are watching Arsenal every weekend and watch Thierry, and all his accomplishment and achievement with Arsenal are well recognized and admired in France. I don't think he's that. I think for him, you had 2010, obviously, and what happened there in that World Cup and the shame that football team brought onto the country, and he was part of that. And I think a lot of people consider that he should have led this team in a different way. He would argue differently because he was just a fringe player, sadly, in that tournament, a passenger, but he's still Thierry Henry. And I see it differently than a lot of what people think on that point. But I can also understand why maybe some people feel like that. There was also the handball against Ireland, which is about reflex, obviously, but has caused him quite a lot of trouble. And I think people tend to kind of let that maybe overtaking the amazing player that he was, really. And again, Paris born and bred. I've got so much love for him. From a very young age, we knew he was very special. A genius of the game too, in the mentality and the football IQ that he has. And you can still see that when he's a pundit. And I think for that, he deserves far more credit than probably he gets back home, which I don't really understand. But that's the only reason why I didn't put him in that top 3 kind of runners for the GOAT award that we gave. He could have well been there. If you ask me top 5, he's 100% in there. Top 3, I still think that Copa, Platini and Zidane are maybe just slightly above him, but not far. He's not far behind. It's just, I think 2010 did a lot of damage back home for his kind of image and reputation in a way.
Yeah, you mentioned the 2010 World Cup. Obviously, there was the big internal dispute and out early at the World Cup. How much of France's success in the last few years sort of was spawned by a reaction to what happened in 2010? I know there was a big inquest in terms of, right, we need to figure out what went wrong and make sure this never happens again. Do you think that in many ways was a bit of a sort of modern turning point for what we have now in France, which is this ruthless, relentless kind of winning machine?
I mean, yes and no, because I think the winning mentality was there before, 98, 2000, even 06. The failures we've had before was often down to pure arrogance that we have, and the fact that we are our own enemies sometimes, because we just take a lot of things for granted because of how good we are or how good we think we are. Anyway, I think 2010 thing exploded for me, not purely, but the biggest reason is Dominic, who was just never good enough to be there anyway. I think within that squad, you had big egos, obviously, like Thierry, like Ribéry, like Anelka, like Evra, those kind of guys. But I still believe to this day that this is a squad that could have been happy together with each other. And the problem and the main issue for me there is Dominic. And having been with that team for all those years under Dominic, every game, every training that was open, everything, knowing so well some of those players involved, I think without Dominic, none of that scandal happens. None of all those issues happen. None of those failures happen either. And 06, he was lucky that Zidane took this team, and Makelele and Vieira took that team and Thuram all the way, because there was nothing down to him. But then what he did in 08 and 10 was a disgrace, absolute disgrace. He should have never been in place still then. Unfortunately for us, it was, and he messed it all up. But more than a winning mentality or more of an issue with the players or the type of players that were in the squad, for me, it was all on Dominic, who was completely incompetent for that kind of job.
You mentioned Claude Makelele and Patrick Vieira there, 2 revolutionary defensive midfielders, if you can call Vieira a defensive midfielder, maybe not. But also N'Golo Kante was another one who almost reinvented the position. France still have some fantastic defensive midfielders, whether it's Tchouameni or Camavinga. Is there something inherently French about that disruptor role in midfield?
Yeah, I think so. I believe that in the 80s, especially when Nantes, where Deschamps, who's probably the first one really to have been in that kind of position of a player that was maybe not as gifted technically as others in the team, but yet could understand the game and read the game, and was so smart that he became the key part of the whole jigsaw from that central midfielder position. I think changed the dynamic of it, really. And you had more and more academies then who were looking for someone like that in that role. So can cover a lot of ground, obviously, can play with the ball, ideally, sure, yes. But more importantly, can just be the disruptor that you mentioned. And for that, I think French academies, who for me are the best in the world, and are showing it year after year after year, which is very good because of the way those academies work and the way that you were teaching the game at the time. And yet later it became a bit more physical maybe. And for example, never as technical as what you can find in Spain or in Portugal. But the football IQ and the football intelligence was always at the heart of every kind of academy system, methodology, if you want, and reflection. And I think that's why since, let's say, the late 90s, and that would be from Deschamps onwards, that I think we've made and produced quite a lot of those kind of number 6 types, if you want. Even somebody like Jérémy Toulalan, for example, who never had a career that Makelele or Deschamps had or Golo had, for example. There was just the epitome of that, the super smart guy who could run a lot, yes, but then understood everything else that was happening on the pitch. And players like him, we've had a lot. And one of the best players in Ligue 1 last season was Adrien Thomasson. There's a lot of people listening to us who don't know who Thomasson is or that he plays for Lens. And yet, again, he's that pure product of French academy system in terms of having a football IQ way above the usual professional player average, not just in France, but anywhere else in the Euro Big 5 leagues, for example. And I just love the fact that we produce those players who have just this kind of mindset of controlling game because they are just mastermind of understanding the game in front of them.
Right, we'll move on to the scouting report section. So here we'll find out a little bit more about what we can expect from France generally at the tournament. So Julien, just remind us for the British fans tuning into this podcast, who are we going to recognize in the squad? I know there's a lot of players, but remind us of the incredible talent France have at their disposal.
Yeah, I mean, if we just start by the starting 11, because we have a really good idea already of what Deschamps will do. We'll have Marc Maignan from AC Milan in goal. We'll have a back 4 of Jules Koundé from Barcelona, our right back, probably Lucas Digne from Aston Villa, left back, and then 2 centre-backs, Upamecano from Bayern Munich and William Saliba from Arsenal, if he's fit enough, because right now there's a few concerns about his fitness and that he might miss the World Cup. If it's not him, it will be Ibrahima Konate, who was a Liverpool player until he became a free agent a few days ago. Then it would be a 4-2-3-1, so double pivot, probably with Tchouaméni from Real Madrid and Rabiot from AC Milan, likely ahead of Kanté or somebody like Manu Kone, who plays for Roma, Kanté playing for Fenerbahce now. And then a front 4 of Désiré Doué for PSG, Michael Olise for Bayern Munich, Ousmane Dembélé for PSG, and Kylian Mbappé from Real Madrid up front.
Are there going to be players battling over the spotlight a little bit when it comes to France's squad? Obviously, what we think of France, we think immediately of Kylian Mbappé. But you've mentioned, Michael Olise has had a fantastic season at Bayern Munich, playing out of his skin. Ousmane Dembélé is the Ballon d'Or holder and now a back-to-back Champions League winner. Is there going to be a little bit of, not friction, but is there going to be some sort of battling of, look, I'm the man, I'm going to be the guy to lead France here? Is there going to be that going on?
It's a good question. And I think, as I've said before, the times where we failed in those big tournaments was because at the time there was things like that happening within the dressing room or between the dressing room and the bench and whoever was in charge when it was Dominic, for example. So I think this is one of the, I think there's two worries for Deschamps. One is that we take things for granted and we already think about ourselves winning it and reaching the final. And he mentioned that again on Monday in his first press conference since the squad has been together. Let's not think about us as winners yet. But that's what we've always done anyway. Even in 2018, that's how we were feeling. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, you're right, is how this squad of super talented alpha male will live in that bubble for 8 weeks, really. And that's the key. And I think Mbappé has realized that now that he's a captain far more than ever before. And he will make sure, although he's the boss and he's the main guy, and that will never change, and the others know about it. And I think nobody will come and try to contest that and compete with him for that. Everybody's far too smart for it. He will also be very good, I think, at making sure that everybody feels involved, that everybody feels committed, that there's no that kind of ego war that we've seen in the past with some of those squads, some of those selections. And when you think about it, Olise wants nothing of the spotlight anyway. That's not his personality. Dembélé is Kylian's best friend with Marcus Thuram in that squad. So even there won't be any I want your place kind of jealousy between Dembélé. Désiré Doué is 20 years old. He knows too well that in 2 World Cups, he will be leading this team and he will be the boss. He's very much the future of the national team. So I don't think they should be there. And then when you look at the rest of that squad, again, I think there are players who are very much a collective people and are there for the collective. And I think Kylian as the captain will kind of lead all of this in a very smart way, which he is. He's a super smart guy.
And Golo Kante is 35 years old, but as I say, in the squad. You mentioned he's probably not going to start. Have his powers waned quite a lot? Because in England, we've sort of forgotten about him since he left Chelsea. But is he still that sort of energetic force to be reckoned with, or is he not quite the player he used to be?
No, for me, he is. He still is. He looks 25. He played against Colombia in that March international break and was incredible, really incredible. And Colombia had their A team, France had our B team. And he was phenomenal, really phenomenal. He had a really good 6 months at Fenerbahce, coming back to Europe from Saudi Arabia. And he was excellent. I think his experience is very valuable, although he doesn't speak much, but still, he's been there. He's won the World Cup. There's not that many left, by the way, from that 2018 squad, who are still there now in 2026. So that would be very important and very, very valuable. And then I'm saying that he should not start because I think Deschamps will go with Tchouaméni, Rabiot, but you could not put it past N'Golo to between now and the end of the tournament or potential final, for example, having won that place back in the team. I'm a bit suspicious of Deschamps in that 4-2-3-1 that is more expensive than his usual conservatism. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he moved back to that 4-3-3 and then we see, for example, Kanté, Tchouaméni and Rabiot all together in that midfield. Because Deschamps will always be Deschamps and he will always be thinking more defensively minding than attacking minding anyway. So I think we will see quite a lot of N'Golo Kanté during the World Cup, and rightly so because he deserves to be there, and I still think he's got enough in the tank to do really well now.
What is the expectations in France? Is it simply a case of anything less than winning the World Cup is a disappointment?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, officially the line would be semi-final is the minimum, and I think it should be. Easily. Some would say that final is the minimum, and I could understand that. And then once you're in the final, again, you could have a great game and lose it. So it's different. But yeah, I think the objective is very much to win it. I think everybody within that setup, even at the federation, us following the team all the time, we know how good they are, and really that whoever could beat us will have to be very, very good to do so. So with all of that, there's big hope within the camp that they can go all the way for sure. And again, I know I've said it before, but our biggest enemy is not Lamine Yamal and Spain or Leo Messi and Argentina or Neymar and Brazil. It's very much ourselves. And I think if that side is right, then I think we have a good chance to go really, really far. And maybe winning it is we've reached the final 4 times in the last 7 World Cups. When you think about it, it's incredible. And some of those finals could have gone even better for us, and they didn't. Okay, 06 penalties, 2022 penalties. That is hard to take, but you can play those games again and you win them both, and suddenly you have 4 World Cups of the last 7, and I can't see why the trend would not continue again this time around.
You get to take one England player and put him into France's team for the World Cup. Who are you picking and why?
Oh, nice! I like this game. Who am I picking? Great question. I am picking. You know what I think I would do? I would pick Harry Kane. I move Mbappe on the left-hand side where he loves playing anyway. And I'll have a front 4 of Mbappe, Kane, Olise, and Dembele. And I just think that, just with that, I just think all the teams would forfeit. And then we would win the World Cup without actually having to play a single minute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We ask this question to all of our guests. So it's often, like, obviously, given the season he's been having, so many people say Harry Kane. And I was thinking, with France, this is one of the few nations where we're not going to get a Harry Kane answer. And lo and behold,
I'm sorry. Let me do this again. Okay.
No. I like the explanation for Harry Kane, because you're right. That would be just, you would like, that's on par with like Messi, Neymar, Suarez. That's just like, okay, I don't want anything to do with this. Like completely leave it alone. Right, we'll just wrap up with some rapid fire questions before I get your controversial prediction for the World Cup, Julien. But first and foremost, who is going to win the 2026 World Cup?
I shouldn't say it because I'm going to jinx ourselves, but I would go for France. I have to.
France. And who is going to win the Golden Ball, so the best player at the World Cup?
I think it'd be Kylian Mbappe, who will also be for me the top goal scorer. If France go well and go far and do well, it would be because Kylian has had a good tournament. And there's something when World Cup arrives, as you mentioned earlier, with all his goals, that makes him even more of a beast than what he usually is at club level. So Kylian for me all along.
Yeah, he comes alive at the World Cup, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Kante or Makelele?
Oh, you know what I love about Kante and Makelele is the personalities are so different. You know, Claude is a big mouth. He talks a lot. He takes the mickey of everybody. Even now, we were on a flight together the other day to come back from Munich for the Bayern PSG second leg in the Champions League, and we had such a lot. I mean, the guy is an absolute legend in terms of, you know, public relationship and things like that. Whereas NG is so shy and reserved and in his own world. One of the sweetest player that you ever seen. When Claude is tough. Claude is Paris born and bred, like N'Golo, but the other side. So he's really tough. When N'Golo is the sweetest thing you would ever meet. So if Claude hear this and I haven't picked him, he will go mad. So I'll go for Claude Makelele. But really, what I would have, Harry, is a double pivot of Makelele and Kante. And with that, again, opposition team would forfeit and we win the World Cup without playing.
Well, for what it's worth, I completely agree. Pires or Ginola?
Don't do this to me. David Ginola, PhD legend, obviously, my favorite player growing up. Then I worked with him. Then we kind of fell out, you know. And it's a funny story. I'm telling you that because we're recording after the Champions League final. And I hadn't seen David properly since we kind of fell out for something a bit silly. And we are in the TV compound in Budapest for the Champions League final, where all the TVs are there. So you have all those ex-players turned pundit who are there. So, you know, for TNT, we had Steven Gerrard and we had Joe Cole and we had Martin Keown and Jack Wilshere and all of that. And then at some point, the French come, Canal Plus, and David is with Samir Nasri, who wasn't there, but David is the biggest guy with Robert Pires. And he's right by me, and I'm like, oh my God, imagine if he kicks off here in front of everybody. Like I was thinking, like, you know what, I should be prepared in case. And then he comes to me and gives me the biggest hug, and he's obviously older. You know, I respect him like my dad, obviously. And then he get my head in his hands like that, and give me the best kiss on the cheek to say, oh, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you for a long time. So it made my heart melt, I promise you. And then obviously PSG went on to win the Champions League and we were very happy. But Robert, when I moved to England in the 03-04 season as a young journalist to follow that for the Parisian newspaper at the time, to follow Arsenal and the Invincibles, Robert really took me under his arm and we've been friends since that. So for 20 odd years now. So I promise you, I know they're quick fires and this is very long and I'm sorry for how long it is.
No, not at all. It's good. It's good. Yeah.
The whole thing, you know, and why I would pick, I cannot pick. I would go for Robert Pires simply because he's a bit younger than Ginola, and Ginola is my dad for me, and Robert is more of a like close friend, you know, that you go and you know and share a lot of your private lives maybe with, if you have issues, and you can talk to him, and we've had those long conversations. That with David it was very much more like a different relationship. So I'll go for Pires.
And lastly, just on this section, Thierry Henry or Kylian Mbappe?
Oh, no way. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I don't know what, two Paris born and bred, very similar to Nicolas. Kylian was 11 when my friend Charlie, and I said that in the book, said to me, listen, everybody talks to me about this boy at Bondy. We have to go and watch him one weekend when you're back. So one weekend I was back home from London. We went together and saw this skinny kid with a shirt far too big for him and short far too big, playing 2 years up against kid that could have like destroyed him with one tackle because they were so big and so strong, especially in the Paris banlieue, and just skinning everybody. And I was like, wow, okay, let's remember the name. And Thierry had a reputation in Paris that was incredible. Charlie's older brother played against him. He was at Clairefontaine smashing it all up. There was never any doubt for neither of them that they would reach the top like they did. So I love your questions, and I think I did really well so far in telling life stories for all the listeners. But on this one, I can't choose. I promise you, they feel like family, both of them.
No, that's fair enough. I won't force it down you. Lastly, do you have a controversial or outrageous prediction for the 2026 World Cup? Doesn't have to be about France necessarily, but have you got anything that you want to tell us?
Yeah, I will tell you that England will reach the final of the World Cup under Thomas Tuchel because he picked the right squad, because he knows what he's doing compared to, unlike what everything in England is saying right now. And that in itself is quite controversial because right now I don't think many people believe that Tuchel will do a good job with England. So you'll go to the final, but then because France topped their group and England topped their group, we'll have another crunch in the final between England and France. And this time again, my friend, I'm really sorry to say it, but you will lose to France.
Well, I like the optimism. I will take a World Cup final even if it means losing in one. I'll bite your hand off for that. Well, Julien, it's been an absolute pleasure. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Really enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you very much, and best of luck for the World Cup itself. And well, but unless France meet England in the final, then no luck for you. But from a professional sense, all the best for it.
Thank you so much.
Well, that does it for our France preview. Let us know in the comments how you think Didier Deschamps' team will get on at the tournament, and join us next time for more stories, insights, and deep dives as our global scouting mission continues as we count down the days to the 2026 World Cup. Until next time, keep making football great again.